Welcome everyone to today's event. I hope you can see my slide. These are the panelists for today's event. It's going to be an interesting topic and an interesting format. So we'll have a quick presentation followed by a panel discussion. Additionally to these 5 gentlemen, we also have Ivica joining as a speaker rather spontaneously. But they will all introduce themselves right after my quick introduction here. Before we get started and I hand over to moderator Philip Sandner, the logistics. This is the WhatsApp group where you can ask any questions to the panel, and Philip and I will be monitoring this chat so that you can, that we can take your questions to the panel and have them discussed by everyone. So scan this QR code to join. If you cannot, then check the emails again. And in the email where the Zoom link was, there's also the link to the WhatsApp group. And also ideally do it fast because I think there's like 40 spots left because there's this weird 255 people limit in WhatsApp groups. But yeah, I hope to see you there. And this is also going to be the way that we can carry the conversation forward after the event is over. So yeah, that's it from my side. Check your emails, join this WhatsApp group, and enjoy the event. I'll now hand over to Philip for a quick introduction of all the panelists.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very happy to moderate this panel. We will talk about tokenization, and apparently more and more things and projects are happening in the area of tokenization. The security tokens are still not there yet. ICO tokens are more or less over, but we see more and more projects or tokens coming to life. That's exactly why also, especially RIDDLE&CODE is basically working in this area, and therefore I would like to quickly present everybody here in this call, primarily RIDDLE&CODE and also Deloitte, who have basically been the companies pushing this topic today and also sponsoring it, right? So therefore I would propose everybody quickly presenting himself as a person. Then we will have a quick presentation of a new project by Sebastian Becker and also by Jens Paulsen from Deloitte and by RIDDLE&CODE, a couple of minutes, what is currently being planned. And thereafter we are starting with the panel discussion. If this would be okay, then Sebastian, I would like to ask you to quickly present yourself and your company.
Sure. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Sebastian Becker. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of Vienna-based blockchain interface company RIDDLE&CODE. So responsible for business development and sales, obviously. We are active in the industry segments of finance and banking technology, but also in the energy sector, in the mobility sector, and along supply chains. Our solutions are consisting not only of blockchain technology on the software side, but also we develop and bring to market dedicated hardware components that can directly link machines, vehicles, whatever have you, to the blockchain. And the goal is to establish tamper-proof machine identities that can then be computed against.
Okay, I pick up here probably. Jens Paulsen, I'm the operational lead of our so-called Blockchain Institute at Deloitte, which is our competence center for everything related to DLT technology. Blockchain was the name that we picked when the whole topic started. Probably we would have named it now different. And what we do there is spanning quite wide, from supply chain projects where we bring solutions into production to the setup of consortia. But quite recently, a large portion of our focus goes towards the topic of tokenization and also CBDCs. Philip, you're on mute.
Ah, now it works again. I had an issue here with the reception, which is apparently quite bad. I'm not in Frankfurt right now. So now let's have also Peter Großkopf from Börse Stuttgart, BSDEX, quickly presenting themselves, and afterwards Heinz-Günther Lux from Evonik.
Yeah, hi, I'm Peter Großkopf. I'm Managing Director and CTO at Börse Stuttgart Digital Exchange. We are operating the technical platform for a digital asset exchange, which means that you can sign up as a retail investor on our platform and trade, for example, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. But we are also open to collaborate with B2B partners, so like institutional traders, banks, order flow providers, and so on, which basically also will be on our roadmap to extend the business, so to be especially tackling the B2B space. And of course, we're also really looking forward to whatever happens in the tokenization space, because yeah, so at the moment, cryptocurrencies are probably the few instruments that are really tradable and liquid these days, but in the future there's more to come, which is also a topic of the panel discussion for today, so I don't want to spoil too much right now. But yeah, for what we will be talking about, we want to become the trading platform in the future. Before I joined Börse Stuttgart, I built up Solaris Bank as a CTO.
Excellent. Thanks much. I think we are also very curious what happens at the BSDEX and at the Börse Stuttgart as one company really driving the ecosystem in Germany. Okay, next, Heinz, please also present yourself here.
Yes, my name is Heinz Güterlux. I'm from Evonik Industries. For those who mix it, Evonik is not an energy company. Evonik is a chemical company. We are located in Essen, but we are global active in almost every country in the world. That means digitalization from China, from US, from wherever you have it, is part of that what we are looking into. I myself did run the business process management at Evonik, and looking into blockchain and digitalization, this fits perfectly together because the process industry, especially the chemical industry, the digitalization is part of the DNA since the early 70s with process control systems. And the logical next step is to take the data from the process systems into a secure system, and the blockchain is a perfect match here, that we can process data from our system in a complete different way with customers, with suppliers, with service providers in Germany, in Europe, and for sure also worldwide. That is the interest when we started the blockchain activities. And we have some interesting use cases using programmable money on one side, but also to look into the process side from the business to really use blockchain to that.
Perfect. And finally, we have also Ivica speaking here. He has joined now spontaneously. Please also, Ivica from Frankfurt, also present yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Ivica Aracic is my name. I'm from DK Bank, one of the larger asset managers here in Germany, especially in the public sector for the saving banks here. And my role is IT architect, and my bread and butter business is originally enterprise application integration, but now it has been extended on DLT and blockchain. And yeah, we have roughly 3 initiatives at DK Bank. The first one is FinLedger. Eventually someone heard about that already. It's in production since 1 year. And it's a network of 5 larger banks from the public sector. And the main focus is to have a decentralized settlement environment for promissory notes. Yeah. So the second thing is we are trying to establish right now, so it's kind of in the building up phase, is what we call digital collateral protocol. And it's an initiative which has the target to span a settlement network for a decentralized settlement network between custodian banks internationally for bringing traditional assets and the new digital assets together to a single platform. Yeah. And the third thing is, of course, digital assets. As an asset manager, it's our responsibility to follow the developments which are happening in the context of tokenization, and especially all the regulations that are on the way right now. Yeah. We have to find a way to fit with that, and we definitely believe that all these things, especially blockchain and DLT, and the way how to design the networks, that it will stay with us, and we are trying to be a part of it. Yeah. That's it.
Okay, excellent. Perfect. That's the panelists for today. And as said, RIDDLE&CODE and also company Deloitte has basically had the initiative for this panel today, and therefore they would like to quickly present their new project. I think, Sebastian, you're taking over now, right?
Yes, correct. Let me quickly go full screen. Okay, I hope that works. So thank you for joining, and I hope that everybody is interested in tokenization, and hopefully most of you are already working on it. But one of the reasons why webinars like these are, of course, not enough to really start or improve the industrial discussion or the exchange between the different industries, we thought that it might be a good idea to suggest a different format. So that's what we call the tokenization testbed. It's a combination of a know-how transfer workshop series and really a testbed solution where everybody participating, and we are mainly targeting corporations, can then really issue their own token, experience how custody is done, and also do test transactions. So this program is going to last roughly for a month. And we are right now in discussions with various industry partners and companies about when to start it. And we're having, I said, discussions about onboarding them onto this program. Deloitte and ourselves have been designing this program, but also Philip and the Frankfurt School Blockchain Center, as well as Peter and Börse Stuttgart's Digital Exchange, are partners and will be running some of the workshops that are part of this program. So the main goal of it is to understand and give you the opportunity to really deep dive into all aspects about the transformational impact of tokenization. So we will talk technology, we will talk regulatory and legal aspects, taxation aspects. Of course, we will also have some case studies, so learning from leading projects and experts is part of the experience. Then, of course, it's the networking, even though we all know that in Corona times, this is a little bit difficult, but nevertheless, digital formats, especially if there are not hundreds, but only a few, 10 or dozen people participating, still offer good opportunities for exchange. And everybody participating or every team participating can also launch their own test token. So we see two good reasons why such an extensive format makes sense. First is the internal alignment. And from our experience, and we work with rather big industrial players from the automotive industry, from the energy industries, in the banking sector, we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years, of course, several POCs and MVPs. But then in several cases, there's, things are not progressing because there's no coherent strategy with regards to the use of blockchain technology. And the same, of course, applies to tokenization, because sometimes it's still a lack of understanding about the multi-dimensional aspects of tokenization. Sometimes it's still the alignment, especially in big companies, because the tech departments, the legal departments, the strategy departments, the finance departments are assessing the technology, are doing research, and also do their own pilot projects. But sometimes this is nothing where the board says, yeah, this helps us today or tomorrow. So internal alignment is one big goal, and external inspiration as well. As you can see from this overview in the different modules, we are going to cover pretty much all the aspects that should be considered and discussed when starting a tokenization discussion. And the program design will allow us to cover, in a series of roughly 15, 16 workshops, all the aspects if you really want to schedule a project and be well prepared for the launch. We all know that the regulatory landscape is still emerging. We've all seen the drafts, MiCA and other initiatives in various markets. So yes, this is still underway, but nevertheless, and maybe Jens can say a few aspects about that. Nevertheless, we think it's a very good point of time to take a deep dive to understand the discussions that are currently going on, especially on the legal side, but at the same time to understand that many of the technical components are already here. As Peter said, Börse Stuttgart is preparing or has prepared and launched the exchange. Custodial wallet solutions are in place. There are various tokenization platforms, not only Ethereum, but other ones as well, that offer great capabilities. So all of this is there, but you have to make sense of it. Jens, do you want to add something?
I couldn't agree more. Seeing the regulatory landscape really delivering on making sure that this topic is taken up, especially also in Germany, really urges us to bring this information to our clients and help them to really to pick up the topic. And I mean, I don't know whom of you probably was in the meeting of the Bitkom yesterday, which was also a large audience, where Cookies presented their view on Mika and what they're already doing. And this, again, urged me to say that this topic is bound to stay. We start now with the first steps, but we will soon see funds, we will soon see securities and everything being able to be picked on this new technology. And this is also why we encourage you to take part of this. We encourage you even more to take part, and it doesn't matter whether you take part in our program or not, but if you take a look at this process, you need to take it from a very broad view. You need to include your strategy departments, you need to include legal and finance, because this has so many implications to the whole value chain of companies that you really need to put a broad team together. And this is also what we offer here within our program. Participate with your colleagues, bring them up to knowledge, and also collaborate with your industry partners, because this is another real important topic in this space. This topic brings corporates together as partners. This is also why we see that different industries are welcome to our program. It actually makes sense to have different industries in there to create industry spanning use cases and discuss industry spanning use cases.
At the end of the program, which are going to be your takeaways, hopefully. So every company will arrive, hopefully, at the program with 1, 2, or 3 use cases in mind. Then there will be a discussion between or about the use cases, and most likely we will see establishing 2 work streams. One is security token-oriented use cases, and the other group will be utility token-oriented use cases. Both groups will then select, let's say, a reference token, and we will use this case then to go into detail, improve the token design, and then every corporate team can, behind closed doors, of course, adapt these learnings and the detailed knowledge that will be transferred during the program to improve their token design. But at the end, every company will have the opportunity to launch that token. It's only a coincidence that it's going to happen on RIDDLE&CODE's tokenization platform. There's no lock-in effect with that. Tokens can, of course, still be transferred into other platforms. So it's not about talking about, this is Deloitte's consulting experience or this is Börse Stuttgart's exchange. It's really about educating all aspects of tokenization. But at the end, the value for money question is always there. So launching a real token that can also be used afterwards internally is certainly a value. And we will also create a comprehensive tokenization checklist that your corporate team, together with partners or clients, can use at later stages to really plan in detail your token launches. And then, of course, you will get access to the workshop materials. Also, because it's Corona, on-demand recordings will be made available. So all the colleagues from your team that might miss a session will have the opportunity to watch it whenever they are ready. As said, the program will going for 4 or 5 months, depending on if we start before Christmas or after Christmas. It's roughly 15 plus workshops. If Corona allows, we might hopefully have a physical closure event of that workshop. And the start date is aligned with the participating companies. The maximum number of companies will be, depending on team sizes, 10 to 12. And there are two price points. So if you're interested in having a discussion with us about this program and see if it makes sense for you and your plans, then please get in touch with us and we can schedule a call with you. So that's basically the rough overview about the tokenization testbed program. We, both Deloitte and RIDDLE&CODE, have dedicated landing pages with more information. So please get in touch with us if you A, don't find that URL, or B, want to schedule a discussion about this. And maybe Philip and Peter, you can say a word why you for yourselves also think that it's the right time to take that kind of deep dive right now.
Peter, you would like to go ahead?
All right, yeah, then I pick it up first. Yes, from my belief, we're in a very interesting situation right now because, so from my point of view, there's really the opportunity of tokenizing everything which is something that you can own. So kind of like a property or like real estate, company shares, also like startup shares. You could tokenize a GmbH, which is owned 50-50 by two shareholders by distributing 50 token to the one person, 50 token to the other person, and also bound a lot of corporate governance actions, so like voting, shareholder meetings, and probably even more decision into it. And kind of the other aspect that you can tokenize is licenses, so things that you can use, so or like temporary ownership in something, so like owning the seat in an airplane or in a train, or booking an Airbnb apartment for a week, which grants you like a temporary ownership or usage right for a property that's probably even also tokenized, and the lock at the door is also tokenized, so that you could kind of build the full value chain, the full process in a digital way. And I think this is so exciting because it's not only affecting financial service industry, so where probably most of us are coming from. It really can spread into various industries, and therefore I think it's like the very start of the movement, but there is a lot to come in the next years.
Yeah, actually, I agree. I think we are right now at the point where we have long waited for, that now everything is basically picking up a little bit more speed. That's not just like affecting tokenization specific, but everything related to blockchain. We see the most important institutions in the world these days dealing with blockchain technology, the digital euro, tokenization. That's the European Commission, that's the Ministry of Finance, that's basically all kinds of ministries in Germany, but in entire Europe. This also is increasingly affecting the US institutions. So I think that's really, really fascinating. Sometimes there is more happening in institutions than in companies, right? We can also elaborate on this question. Why is this so far? And therefore, I think it's an absolutely perfect point in time to really get in touch with blockchain technology, because now we see this curve basically going up month by month. That's I think the perfect start for our discussion. Where are we right now with regards to tokenization? And basically, first question: why is not more happening? Maybe it's just how it is, diffusion takes some time. Diffusion is not black and white. Diffusion is not going overnight. So maybe it just takes a little bit of time. Or can we argue why much more should happen? We need to be more dynamic, more speedy. We need to have more budget and so on. That's desirable, yes. But on the other hand side, sometimes things just take some time until they do diffuse. Sebastian, you apparently have quite some projects at your company. So what's your opinion here?
Yeah, I tend to get a bit angry these days if I read, there's no real use case for blockchains because it's easy to say and a little bit cheap. Yes, of course, we had in the crypto space the hype in 2017. That was also a bit problematic. But then, industrial blockchain adoption resulted in a lot of POCs and MVPs in 2018, maybe also first half of 2019. But now, of course, there's a bit of delay because of Corona, but many of the projects that have been agreed upon during 2019 you know, these industrial projects especially are not trivial. It's normal that these projects take 1 to 2 years even, and you will not see them in the public domain beforehand. So I fully agree with you, Philip, that you know, the tide will be rising every month from now. So just to give you one example, what we are working on right now with a leading European tier 1 energy company, they will be the first, or this will be the first public use case that runs on our tokenization platform. And basically we provide the opportunity to tokenize photovoltaic installations in the public domain. So, you know, not single households, but building complexes, etc., so that different parties that are not the owner of the roof or the yard can also, you know, acquire rights related to that photovoltaic installation. And the most interesting thing is that we will launch electricity tokens. So the output of this photovoltaic or these installations and assets will be tokenized. So we will add an additional layer to the economic you know, activities in the markets where this is going to be rolled out, and that's a very good example, I think, because, you know, it's easy to understand tokenization of real estate. It's easy to understand tokenization of art. Of course, there are many legal aspects around it, but tokenizing and you know, creating liquidity for an asset that has not been part of economical activity as such. Of course, we all pay our electricity invoice every month. But to be able to redeem it, to at least at the beginning have a token as a voucher solution for that is, I think, quite interesting. And you know, okay. this is not an MVP. It's you know, bound to be launched globally.
Yeah. Sorry. Perfect. So Peter at Börse Stuttgart, what are you currently working on? Are you basically building the bridge from the other side of the river, let's call it that way, that basically you have tokenizations platform on this side, you have the trading places on the other hand side, and both need to meet each other. You know, is this assumption true? Are you basically trying to build this ecosystem from the trading side? What's happening at Börse Stuttgart these days?
Yeah, before I respond to that question, allow me a comment on what Sebastian just said, or probably also adding a little bit more to it, because you asked, like, so there was the comment that kind of like blockchain adoption had like a spike in the hype phase, and a lot of prototypes have been built, and then it became a little bit silent. From my point of view, there's really like one core aspect that we need to tackle, and it's in the end education of the market, of market participants and different people in the industry. So like also with this with the RIDDLE&CODE and the Deloitte program, because in the end, so when I wrap my head around decentralization in banking, so while working at Solaris Bank, kind of because we were interested, how could blockchain affect us as a bank? And I came to the conclusion that it's not about the introduction of a new technology. So like migrating from the on-premise data center to the cloud, or doing something with AI, or something like introducing new technology. It's like a paradigm shift to like decentralized models. And I think that's very important to understand. So what does it mean? What's the potential of it? And how can I use it for creating new business models? And I think that's the first shift that you need to do in your head. And the second one is once you arrive like of thinking in a decentralized way, that you're kind of dealing with open data. Yeah, so that it's about like also distributing information in networks and with equivalent partners, and also be more open than you have been in the past, like in the siloed industries. And that, again, that is also a paradigm shift, and that can also bring like a lot of value. So my most favorite example these days is the Wirecard topic. So where I believe with a more open financial system, so with pseudonymous data available, where like an Amnesty International for financial transactions could audit independently data which is open to the public, probably could avoid things that happened in the past. And I think But yeah, so the huge step that a company or corporation needs to take is really to understand the fundamentals behind blockchain. And then blockchain is like one implementation for like decentralized systems that deal with open data. And I think that's very important to communicate and to teach. The more understanding we have, like also on the governmental side, we see all these developments in the European Union. The German Bundesregierung is doing a lot, bringing in new laws. I think that all pays into the fact that we get better and we move more to like a decentralized world. And what's the part of BSDEX, Börse Stuttgart Digital Exchange, and also the other projects that we do at Börse Stuttgart. So our vision is also to create like a full tokenized ecosystem in the trading world, also starting with primary markets, also where it's about creating new tokens and tokenization projects. We have the secondary market project, which is BSDEX. So we're creating a trading lot for trading crypto assets and digital assets. And we also build up a company on the post-trade side, which is BlockNox, for custody and like applying for the custody license. I think they published yesterday the news that they signed all the paperwork and sent it out. So we're also on a good way over there. And this all together makes us, plus with the brand Börse Stuttgart being around for 150 years in the trading industry. So we want to bring in a lot of trust also into this new technology, because our partners we're working with for years or for ages realize that if such a trustworthy company like us moves into that place, into that industry, then it's something that it's worth to have a look at. And I think that's our contribution then also to the community, that we can really help to make the whole movement bigger. Especially then when it comes to, if there is like a lot of assets tokenized, you need to have a secondary market for it to create liquidity. And that's where we kick in and what we contribute then also to this evolving industry.
Okay, excellent. And Heinz, what about Evonik? Are you already thinking in the area of tokenization, or what exactly are you tokenizing at Evonik? Or are you still in education mode, so to say? Of course, Evonik is a huge corporation. Things are not diffusing that quickly in huge organizations. This is well known. So therefore, very curious to hear what's being tokenized at Evonik.
Yeah, first of all, talking about the challenges, it was discussed about the knowledge, about the openness, and the traditional company with more than 150 years of history for sure has a development that all the processes are optimized and in a way finely tuned, and there's an organization with people and responsibilities and roles, and everybody's doing his job perfectly. Now we come with a blockchain technology and we say, now we take data and make them available for everybody. Everybody means that in the process, people can be done in a different way. And that is a part of education, first of all, to train and to show people that with the blockchain technology, data can be used in a different way than it was used until now. That's the one side. The other side is, what is the benefit? What is the problem to be solved using the blockchain technology? And here we have, again, the two aspects. Here we have the majority of the finance aspect, and we started with our use case in understanding and seeing the benefits and the challenges and the opportunities using programmable money, because that reduces the burden, or let's say the hurdle for the key decision makers in the company, because we talk about not talk about token or cryptocurrency, we talk about real euro, but we talk about programmable euro, and that is in the world of the management from the finance side much more acceptable than if you would come with a token. We say now we manage tokens and then we transfer it into the real euro world. So therefore in Evonik we started understanding and learning, getting use cases with the programmable euro, and we are pretty far advanced with that. Parallel to that, we looked into the processes, and one of the processes is the vendor-managed inventory. So we deliver a customer a product, there's a silo, a tank, and we manage that continuous material flow And now we come to the point that we say we use the usage of the material, link it to the value of the material, and by a smart contract, we do the whole settlement of the invoice. So both sides, on one side, the operative side, and the other side, the finance side. And by using this, let's say, strategy to show the people and open the mind for the people what further benefits is in when we use programmable money, when we tokenize, when we use blockchain technology for the integration. And I would say in the meantime, we are working 2 years now on that. There's people look and see with a high expectation with the use cases. That's the reason why we finish our use case and then go into broader communication. And from there, we will go the next steps to see what benefits do we see in tokenization, like it's discussed today.
Okay, excellent. So this is already in place. There has been a very interesting question in the WhatsApp group saying that there is a person called Ugor, and he sees a lot of potential for capex heavy industries, like especially machinery and industrials. And at the same time, he argues that especially large corporates are having access to financial markets for financing. That's exactly why the CFO potentially is missing the potential of tokenization, because the CFO of large-scale corporations do have access to capital, right? So how, Heinz, would you judge this situation? Are CFOs seeing the value of tokenization, or are they somehow missing out of this potential?
I think there's a good opportunity. I think my video is off. I think there's good opportunities when it comes to financing assets to make use for customers of further automation, which is depending on, in our case, tanks, silos, or packaging machines, things like that. And if we can go this route, that we say we open new ways of financing these assets, that customers do not have to spend a lot of money directly from their cash, it would open the possibility to develop, let's say, new business models that the finance of assets would go in that way, and let's say the interest would be paid by using these assets. This is an interesting aspect. We are thinking about it, but we have no concrete discussion currently about that. But the basic concept, we think there is a good benefit in it.
Okay, maybe a next question going to Jens from Deloitte. Would you also see, especially the CFO of a company being in the prime position to really drive blockchain technology? Does this logic make sense? Actually, I think there is something true in this logic. Would you agree? Or would you think that it could also be other departments, such as the innovation management or other persons in companies? What's your experience from Deloitte?
Let's probably start with the aspect of innovation departments, since I'm also sitting in an innovation department. And what I'm learning here is actually they can be the driver. Nevertheless, only the very early stages. It needs to be a topic that is driven also from C-level, because it has so many implications, because it is so complicated. And but it will only work if we manage to draw away the attention from very technical details that are discussed. We are often starting talking about benefits, and then we go down into the very technical nitty-gritties of different protocols. And in no use case that is run by our web services, we would have that discussion. But it's simply because we started the discussion so technical. And I think now we have the chance to really go more into really use cases that bring immediate benefit, and not only those where we need to build up large networks, large use cases, where companies need to agree and work together. And as Peter said, we have a paradigm shift, but a paradigm shift always needs to have a mindset shift too. And this is not done like this. It simply takes some time to really understand what that means for my data, what does it mean for my company. And it also takes time to set up those collaborations between companies. I mean, having the mindset shift from I'm a company and need to protect my IP and my value to I'm a company that needs to collaborate with others and also find the people in the legal department that write the respective cooperation contracts for this simply takes some time. And this is also what I see when I go back to what Sebastian said, seeing that there are no projects. I would rather say there are projects, but Heinz Günther, you just said it. In Germany, it's not the general rule to go out in public in the second you start a project. We build something until it's quite close to be finished, and then we go public with it. And that might also be one of the reasons why people have the feeling that not so much is happening. But if you look into the companies, there is a lot happening. I know no bank that is not having a view on tokenization. I know no large company in the DAX that hasn't been tapping into the topic of distributed ledger technology in some way. So I think there is more to come, but it needs guidance from C-level. That might be the CFO, especially when we talk about tokenization and other topics. It might also be somebody else.
Yeah, so as the question was about the CFO, I could imagine that it could be his role to introduce the next buzzword, so which is like decentralized finance and find adoption within his department, because in the end we also see this trend of kind of building a lot of financial infrastructure and products, so like lending, investing, and so on and so forth, also on blockchain protocols and tokenization. And in the end, and we already see first big corporations, for example, investing money on bank accounts, not into classical products, but investing it into Bitcoin to park it and probably to reduce negative interest rates, like in the EU. And so therefore, yeah, I could imagine that almost any field, like also within a company, is affected to some extent, and the CFO could have quite a special role also over there.
I would agree here, actually. There was another question from the WhatsApp group asking that by now we are pretty clear that custody is an interesting business model. We are unclear about the future margins of custody, yes. But now that we know that this already works more or less, we have a couple of good companies in this field. What are the next subdomains within blockchain area, or what kind of tokens is it? What kind of assets will it be that basically should be validated in the next, say, 6 months to be the next business model which is proven and which does work? So what's basically next in the area of tokens? Is it real asset tokens that could be interesting, you know, like tokenizing things which have a physical value? What is it? I guess, Peter, this question would be interesting for you. You apparently must have like tons of emails what people would like to get traded, right?
Okay, all right. Yes, from my understanding, or from my point of view, I think six months is quite a short time frame, because I think there is still, so like the German would say, going a lot of water down the river Rhine, so to kind of like see really like mass adoption, and so I think for the next 6 months we probably still we'll see like experiments in various industries. So one narrative that I used for the past, where I would say it worked pretty well, explaining the developments for the last 1.5 years, has been that I believe tokenization makes a lot of sense in like on assets that are very difficult to transfer right now. So for example, there's a lot of real estate projects going on, because buying real estate in Germany is like an act of a lot of paperwork. So when I bought my apartment in Berlin, I think I have like a folder with 1,000 pages somewhere, just like with all the communication and so on. Also the process still is quite undigital, going kind of like to the notary office and so on and so forth. And I think, and the transaction costs are really, really high. And I think blockchain is just perfect for those processes and assets where the transaction costs are really high these days. Also, like I mentioned earlier, founding a startup, having shares distributed on different shareholders, that could also be something where it makes it much more easy to transfer ownership from one person to another without too much hassle. And I think kind of the tokenization will go that route, really finding the assets that are very difficult to transfer in these days and only very expensive. And then there will be business models that apply to that. Coming from the other round, so what I don't believe is that it makes so much sense to tokenize like real stocks and so on. It's like right now, because the systems that we have in place are super efficient because it's like centralized and it's a monopoly. Therefore, it's very difficult to beat these systems on a cost basis or like a per unit cost basis, because they're already super efficient. So therefore, we need to go the other route, finding the assets where we have high transaction costs, where we can create a business case, and then people will use it.
But if I may append here something from the perspective of a custodian and the bank. Yeah, well, first of all, I would like to emphasize what you said before, Peter, with the paradigm shift, and that's how to say, that's the direction from which we are looking from DK Bank. So at DK Bank, it's not actually about tokenization or some kind of missing representation of some digital, missing some digital representation of a value or something like this. But the problem is rather the overbloated, fragmented, and costly infrastructure that we have installed worldwide. Yeah? And when you say that the trading works fine, that's okay, but the settlement behind the trading in the back office, it's really fragmented. The cost, for instance, for cross-border settlement, it's 10 times higher than within the national context. Yeah? And coming from that view, yeah, we think that we mostly focus from the thinking on the backend revolution aspect of the blockchain itself. Yeah, because for us, it's not kind of tokenization of everything. For us, tokens are some kind of yet another book entry value in some system which happens to be blockchain. The main aspect for us is the convergence of everything. Yeah, because now we have means at hand to bring people together, even competitors, into the same network, and then everything is converging. Yeah, you have issuers on one side, you have investors on one side, and the value chain in between, it's getting smaller through the technology that we are able to use now. But also there is also convergence between front office and back office. Now we have some separation between the trading level, the front office level, and between the settlement level. And now, thanks to the new technology, we also have convergence between these two. Yeah, and I can imagine to me that we will have, we will not separate anymore between front office and back office. Yeah? And then you also have convergence between competitors. Yeah, they are now ready to join the same network and to work on the same standards because they can stay independent with the help of the blockchain technology itself. And I think the main challenges that will come along the way and that we are trying to tackle is, the first thing is we have assets and systems which have been grown in the past decades, and now we have the new world, and now we need a bridge to move everything from the old world to the new world, right? And it will only work well, this is our expectation, if we focus on standardization and if we focus on governance, and if you focus on integration between the new and the old world. And that's the perspective that we are following. And I guess, as Philip said, the diffusion, it will take years. Yeah? It will take years because it took decades to build that what we have right now, and it brought us far, I would say. But we are at the point where it's overbloated and fragmented and costly. And now we have to find a way to build kind of a bridge to the new world and make it possible to move the old assets to the new world itself.
But I think
the topic is the expectation management on this technology and on the use cases. And in 6 months, Philip, definitely, maybe there is something since 2 years running, this may come in the next 6 months. If we talk about infrastructure, about what is the right blockchain, what is the right interoperability, and all these type of things, we will wait next 20 years and nothing will happen. I think it's a parallel development. On one side, and I talked with IBM about that. Where are they successful with a hyperledger, with their use cases? It's always when it's a scalable challenge they solved. And TradeLens is a good example. Every supplying company has a container running worldwide, and they connected all the carriers to this platform, and they are on a level that they scale in the meantime, and that people have to use it. So this many-to-many aspect in use cases for solving a problem is something where the probability of success is higher. Then you have a one-to-one relation between two partners, and you solve a problem with the two companies. But there are exceptions from the rule always, because whenever there's a third party involved in it, and you mentioned it, when we talk about delivery and finance and payment and things like that, and this on an international basis, then we have again not a one-to-one relation, because many different services are related to that from a documentation side. And there's again a potential benefit in the blockchain technology and in the finance link to that. And to work that out and to define it and slice it and dice it in a workable way and to manage it that the people will follow, this is a challenge. And in that case, we are working 2 years now on our use case. We are now almost ready to go with it. It takes time, but it needs to have the right challenge on one side, and it's the story about the problem solving potential on that.
Okay, but Heinz, this is interesting. So in terms of bottlenecks, what have been the main bottlenecks? You know, is it understanding within the company? Is it regulatory concerns? Is it understanding of partners you are collaborating with? Is it the C-level which needs to provide a buy-in? So what have been the main bottlenecks over these 2 years?
The funny thing is that one of the trendy things might be a bottleneck, because when I talk with people about the different ways of using programmable money in the finance process, they come and say the problem is solved because we have RPA, or the robotic process automation, or we're working on KI. And the point is that the mindset in the people is more, we solve the problem when it comes. When it comes regularly, we use RPA. And when it needs to have a different skill, we try to think about KI of solving it, instead of thinking, how can we integrate the payment process with the data from the beginning in a way that we do it from the beginning, fully automated. And that is a challenge that we have, even, let's say, competing technologies where people like it more because it's more trendy, compared to the blockchain technology, which is still, we're not sure if that is really the right way. So I think there are different aspects of it. Again, you need to have the long breath to go and work on it and convince, and not to be tired, and always try to bring the people together and fight against also resentiments. Is that the right word? I think yes.
Okay.
Let me add.
I would also add something to it, and probably it says again to the learning thing that I mentioned as the first comment, because I think many companies and corporations still don't know like what real assets they have under the hood that can actually bring value in the tokenized world. So like Evonik bringing this vendor managed inventory process on the blockchain, which basically means kind of like measuring like what's going into the silo, what's going out of the silo, and managing kind of the money flow like on the opposite side. So that's kind of the supply chain they do. So I did a project like in my first company that I founded, where we consulted also like a hidden champion into the digitalization world, where it was about it was a company which is like one of the leading companies for producing weighting systems, so like measuring weight, for example, in like on construction sites, but also on kind of like fleece bender, so where like everything which needs to be measured to some extent in weight, they were the expert for it and for the automation. And we moved them into the digitalization world by adding a subscription model to their business model, because first they only sold the devices and then they connected the devices with the internet and had like a software as a service application where they got like monthly revenue. So that was what we were building for them. And I'm thinking for quite a while about like contacting contacting them again, like, hey, by the way, so could be the next wave of digitization coming, so where you could connect your devices to the blockchain, and also enabling that kind of supply chains. And I think that's quite interesting. And I think many people and many companies wrap their head around digitalization and what they can do, but sometimes it's even about like inspiring them on the use cases where they could involve themselves, and then they come automatically to the blockchain technology.
I think that's a very interesting point, if I may add something here, because I think blockchain in the meantime, even though it's just part of a technology mix for innovation, it's not disputed anymore that blockchain can bring efficiencies to backends and processes. But there's of course also a new world that we can leverage, and as RIDDLE&CODE, we're also doing these crypto chip and hardware solutions for machine identity. And that's the new thing here. I remember, a few years ago, I was building the investment company for Karl-Heinz Brandenburg, who invented the MP3 format while he was at Fraunhofer. And I really liked that story a lot because, MP3 was ready as a technology, and the dissemination, there was no plan for it. A student put it in a message board one late night and said, hey, look how this cool new technology can be applied to music. And it went viral from there. And the industry was not prepared that a digital format with, let's say, not really high levels of security of the open internet would, result in an industry collapsing. But now, if you have a tamper-proof identity for an object, and we just released our industry-grade hardware car wallet last week for Daimler Mobility, if you can prove that it's that car or that machine, then of course you can create a digital twin. And with that, the window of opportunity is wide open. You can tokenize it, but you can also build new and reliable business processes on top of it, and business models that are maybe comparable to the change that MP3s or video files brought to other industries. And that's the new world of it. And blockchain technology, that's what I mean by multidimensional, let's say, efficiency potential of it, can help both in the old or in the backend world, but also with unlocking new potentials. And that's why we are big believers in it.
You have to do it. PowerPoint slides are not sufficient, and you really have to do it. Sometimes I wonder, this is strategically at its best, business models, new products, all kinds of things, entire value chains are being changed. Where is McKinsey and Boston Consulting Group and all these guys? Where are they? I can't. Maybe it's basically a lack of doing, which can be observed here, because PowerPoint slides are not helpful here. Anybody wants to also place a remark?
Philip, that was obliged to answer from my side, right? You don't need them, you can simply come to us.
Well, you are apparently in doing mode with the projects you are doing, right?
This is also the only way we learn. There has been no project where we haven't been rebuilding in the second project almost 90% of it within that space. The technology is advancing that fast that what we are building is simply being rebuilt and rebuilt all the time. And when I take an example, which is not tokenization, but it's from the supply chain world, where we started with a blockchain use case, and then realizing that this is actually, to be frank, it's the wrong approach. We need to look at the digital core of the whole supply chain system, and then blockchain, in that case, it's Hyperledger, is one enabler, but it only works with cloud technology. It works when you use new technologies like but other enablers like Docker and Kubernetes to really bring that to customers easily, make the technology for them available without having their own tech department. Then it really makes sense. And digitizing or tokenizing a financial asset that we already have now, that might help us in terms of efficiency, but that is not, it's not rocket science, right? But rethinking a whole industry process, that really takes time. Taking the different parts that we have in an industry process, looking what we have in here and see what we can get loose of when we use a new technology. This is really the interesting part. And this is now also where I see ideas that have been brought up 2 or 3 years ago, they are now picking up again on it because now the technology can really deliver on it. This is what really is interesting for me. And this is also what is interesting from my perspective, that, I mean, budget is always a topic. Budget is maybe also a topic, even a stronger topic now in COVID times, but companies haven't stopped looking to that technology. And this is also one proof point from my side that how powerful the technology actually is.
Okay, so let's have a closing round by everybody, a quick one. We are far from Christmas, I know, but what would you expect happen in 2021 in terms of tokenizations?
Good, then let me start. It's relatively easy. I think we will see a few more relevant projects coming up in the next 3-4 months that have been worked on for over a year. And we hope that these reference examples will trigger more also innovation, and not only the efficiency card. But I fully agree, you know, the CFO has to understand that there's a digital twin and there's a tamper-proof asset that really can be, you know, considered as a starting block for new things. And then, of course, next year, last comment here, digitalization has been driven also by the COVID.
Hi, Tobias.
The COVID situation. Hi, Tobias. And this will, of course, mean that blockchain projects that help with digitalization are, you know, on top of the list.
Okay, excellent.
From my point of view, maybe going next, I believe, well, there will be a lot of laws and regulations hit the space, so which is actually really good, because many people were really waiting for it, and to really have also a legal certainty for doing things, which can in the end only generate trust, and that will attract more players to come into the whole space. And also this development around the programmable euro, I think that gained a lot of speed. I think we were talking about it like for more than 3 or 4 years. And I think this year there has been quite a huge acceleration, I think, which will lead also into a lot of developments next year. That, from my point of view, having a programmable euro plus the custody law and the developments on that edge really already put a good foundational layer for settlement. And I think tokenization will benefit from it, because in the end, if you also want to build the connected money flows and also the post-trade and the custody of it, then we have a solid foundation to tokenize a lot of different things on top of it.
I agree. Okay, who wants to make the last remark? Anybody here? Ivica, Heinz?
Yes, my wish for Christmas would be, on one hand, that there is an active deployment of the European blockchain infrastructure. On the other hand, that the European Central Bank will really make a clear statement about programmable money from their point of view, because when this happens, then the openness of let's say, more traditional people is there, because when European Central Bank and European Commission is really taking ownership of this technology, this will give a signal to people to be more open to that.
That was a very, very nice statement. Actually, today there was the ECB writing something, publishing something about their vision of the digital programmable euro. Actually, I didn't have a chance to look at it, but maybe it's a worth read for the weekend. Should be an interesting paper if the ECB finally is saying something clear on this regard. Okay, thanks very much, and have a very nice Friday afternoon and a nice weekend. I think it was a very interesting round, talking about the barriers for the past, but also the opportunities for the future of tokenization. Yeah, thanks very much.